I think that's enough.
Well, the very astute of you will notice this is not the 2013 JK with an engine and transmission of a 2015. This is actually a 2020 JL Rubicon. It's so new that when I went to register it in the state of Kansas, they had to update their computer system because it wasn't in the database. So you're probably thinking, well, what the heck, Brandon? Didn't you just spend $18,000 fixing it and upgrading your JK? So why'd you get this after all that? Simple. The thing's better. My last Jeep, even after all that work, still rode like crap. And I was tired of it. And I didn't want to keep putting money into it. I knew there were still other problems. So by now, it's probably some poor schmuck driving it, not knowing what they got themselves into. So if that's you, hit me up and I'll help you out with it or give you some pointers. I did hide some notes inside of it explaining everything that was going on with it. So if you find that Jeep, it should give you some pointers. So anyway, I just got this thing back from Colorado. Family and I went out to Breckenridge and Salida, hit some trails, went hiking, and it's just a fantastic time with this Jeep. It performed perfectly. It's exactly what I wanted it to do. It's lightweight, you know, had excellent ground clearance, went everywhere we wanted to go. We were comfortable, didn't have any trouble going anywhere. Had outstanding mileage, plenty of leg space. The kids could charge their devices in the back. Looks good. And I love it. I'm so happy I got this. I'd actually ordered a Gladiator and I was waiting for it to be built, and I got notification that it was built. Hey, Aubrey, where's the mitt? Oh, thank you. Thanks. Because I thought, yeah, you know, I want the bed space so I could put a rooftop tent on the back of it so I don't have the tent so high up. You know, I have options in the back for cargo. What I was realizing is as more guys were getting these the Gladiators, they're having to build them so big. The guys are having to put, you know, 37-inch tires on them and massive, you know, 4.5 or 6.5-inch lifts, or even 37s or 40s to hit the trail that's something an almost stock JL could hit. And I don't want to do that. So this rig, it's still my daily driver. I drive 40 miles to work every day on the highway, and I need something that's still decent on the road, and I didn't want extra wear from those components. The whole point of this is to change as little as possible. So I reconsidered and thought, you know what? A JL Rubicon is a lot closer to what I need versus a Gladiator. I think a Gladiator, although I want to do bigger trips, it just encourages me to go too big and pack in too much gear. Whereas with this Jeep, I'm forced to stay light and small, and that's what I need. I don't want to be encouraged to buy more gear and more stuff and go heavier. I want to do more with less. So that's what this is. This is a challenge to myself. In fact, right now, all I've done to it are those lights, and then I'm going to add on a skid plate for that front little axle disconnect thing, whatever that is, that doohickey. And for now, that's all I'm doing. You know, I'll be adding accessories, you know, the air compressor and some kind of platform for either a fridge, but I'm not lifting it right now. I'm not doing big tires. I want to see what all I can do with how it is. And what's funny is when I bought this and I lined it up next to my last Jeep, put them side by side, they were almost the same size. My last Jeep had a 2.5-inch lift and it was on 34-inch tires. This, the stock JL, yeah, 285 70R17. So these are almost as big. They're within like an inch of the tires I had on my last Jeep. So this Jeep is almost as big as what I've been wheeling for the last couple of years. So I'm already used to this size and this ground clearance. Granted, I will need some skid plates, but I think with this one, instead of going steel, I'm going to go aluminum, just to, again, keep it light. I'm not planning on bashing it in the rocks, but I still want protection just so it'll last longer. There's no snorkel. I'm not doing that again. Yeah, the the snorkel on my last Jeep, I got it because I was planning on doing a lot of water crossings down at Ozark National Forest. Well, every time I went down there, there was in a drought, so I never needed it. The snorkel was it was great for keeping the dirt out of the air, or that was in the air from dusty trail rides out of the engine. But I think that snorkel was more work than it was, or more trouble than what it was worth. Like, there was one time I drove back from Colorado in the rain. It was a 9-hour drive in the rain, and the snorkel, the pre-filter that I had, it filled up with water. It was actually sucking in rain. So rain was hitting the windshield and getting sucked up the filter. And when I pulled the air filter was soaking wet. And inside the engine, there was that resonator, the cold air intake that goes from the air filter to the throttle body, and it has the little resonating chambers. Those were full of water. Hey guys, this is going to be quick and dirty. I found something I cannot believe. This is one of the reasons why I do not recommend getting the Rugged Ridge snorkel. I was replacing my serpentine belt and idler pulleys because one of them exploded, and when I pulled off my intake tube and resonate, this resonator down here, the resonator was full of water. You know, I turned it out, there's still a little dripping out there now, but I turned it to the side and it just poured water out. You know, and that's pretty close to the intake right there, you know, the throttle body. So I pulled off the air filter and, oops, let me get my flashlight again here. Sorry about this, guys. I know this isn't the quality you're used to, but so look down in the intake tube and there's water inside the snorkel. Whoops. Let's see if we get a better shot of that. Right there. See all that? That there's been water pooling in the bottom of the snorkel. I mean, that's, if I look at it, I mean, just as a Jeep sitting in the driveway, that's got to be about a ½ inch of standing water in there. And all that water, so here's standing water inside the bottom of the intake box, or the filter box. And there's so much water going through there that my filter, my K&N filter, you know, this is soaking wet. In fact, all the oil has been washed out of it. So all that oil, so, you know, who knows how much water has been sucked in, whoops, through my snorkel and into my engine. So the snorkel was sucking in water from there, because of the rain, and then into the engine. So that was an unintended side effect of having that thing. This Jeep is for family activities. It's the family adventure mobile. So my family's going to be with me. If I hit a point where the water is so deep that I would need a snorkel, and I've got those guys with me, I'm on the wrong trail. You know, I'll turn around. It's not worth risking to me their safety or breaking the Jeep for a trail that big. You can now order the JL with the diesel. So that seems a nice option. That was something I'd consider too. Should I get the diesel? That was my original plan with my last Jeep, was wait for a JL with the diesel. But what dissuaded me from that was the extra maintenance. You know, a lot of guys in the forums, like you guys in the JL Wrangler forum, were talking about the benefits of diesels and pros and cons, and talking to a lot of my buddies that drive diesels, and they say, you know, back in the day, yeah, they were great, gobs of torque and power, and they were easy, but now they have all this EPA crap on them. You know, this extra cost to maintain them, the extra wear on because of the emissions. It's like, man, you know, I don't want to deal with all that either. Again, I want a simple vehicle that does what I need it to. As much as I would love having that extra torque and mileage improvements, just I don't think that offset the added cost and maintenance of the diesel. And we still don't know the tow numbers on the thing, so I don't know if the Jeep will be rated for higher tow capacity. Of course, with the Wrangler and the Gladiator, you know, a big limiting factor is, you know, cooling, the size of the frame, braking. So who knows, that diesel might have the exact same tow rating as the Rubicon, which is 3,500 pounds. If that's the case, well then okay, you're not really gaining much in that respect. So that's something to consider too. But again, you do get better mileage. I love this 3.6 and this 8-speed transmission. Oh my gosh, driving back from Colorado or to and from there, I was getting between 18 to 20 miles per gallon, whereas my last Jeep, which had that 5-speed and 48 gears on 34-inch tires, I'd get between 11 to 13. Hey Brock, you're gonna pull the hose out of the wall, don't. God damn it. You know, one thing that took some getting used to on this one versus the JK is the manual shifting. On the JK, the transmission, and you would go left or right to switch between, you know, first gear or second gear. You know, you'd knock it down to the left to hold it into first, and you could knock it to right or knock it, and go back into drive. So that would choose your gear. With this one, it's forward and backward. I think you go up for lower, down for higher gear. So that's the only thing that took a little getting used to, was that coordination, because I drove a JK from 2006 to this year, so that's 13 years I've been driving a JK. I love the extra legroom in this for the kids. I love how the center console has all those little power outlets for the kids' devices. Oh man, starting to see some scratches there. This thing only has 3,000 or 3,500 miles on it. It's already got pinstripes. All right. Wife will love that. Brock, don't.
Touch it.
Okay. I get that, you know, rock landing is a new thing where people want to go overlanding and rock crawling. And I guess I can be kind of accused of that, where you go rock crawling or hit harder trails and you're fully loaded with all your camping gear. And I don't think that's smart. Yeah, it's cool, but unless you've got a ton of money or resources or mechanical know-how and the ability to fix your rigs, I think that's just asking for a lot of trouble. If you've read the book Across the Fence, it's about these guys in Laos and how they were doing these reconnaissance missions during the Vietnam War. And they were talking about how they're always packing light, as little gear as possible, so they could move as quickly as possible, so they couldn't be detected, and it was less wear on them. And these were smaller guys. I think the same thing, you know, it should be applied when you're going off-road or overlanding or camping. As little gear as possible, as light as possible, and your stuff will last longer. You can move quicker, and it's easier on everything. I want this thing to last as long as I can without unnecessary damage, while still having fun, because that's the point of this, is I want to have fun and go places and do cool things. I'm willing to sacrifice those 5% of places I can't get to because I don't have a big lift and big tires, but I can still make fantastic memories with my family. So that's what I'm doing with this JL, just taking it out for family adventures. On the way back from Colorado, my wife said, Brandon, we should get a camper. And if we get a camper, you should get the Gladiator to tow it with. And I was just, big face palm. I was like, really? You know, I had a Gladiator on order, but then we changed our mind and we decided that the JL was better for us based on all the reasons I outlined for you earlier. And now to say, oh, we should get a Gladiator. It's like, well, that's what we had wanted, and we should have done that to begin with because of the higher tow capacity. And a trailer is actually something we're considering. My family, they don't like camping when it's cold. I have no problem with it. In fact, the worse the weather, the better. I love camping in bad weather. I love driving in bad weather. But the kids and the wife, not so much. My wife, she doesn't want to be camping when it's cold. She'll hike when it's cold, but not camp. And the kids, you know, they're still small enough that their little bodies can't handle the cold as well. They're not acclimated to it. So it kind of limits when we can go. Whereas a camper, you know, you just set up and you park it and boom, you're ready to go with your camping accommodations. You can just go out and do whatever you want, but then you got to deal with, of course, parking it and the weight of it and where you're going to pack. But then it also moves the weight of all your gear out of the vehicle and onto the trailer. So there's pros and cons. But anyway, that's something we're considering, looking at options, what kind of off-road adventure trailers there are, and we're still undecided if we want to do more of an adventure trailer with an RTT on top or do an actual camper. With an RTT, you're basically camping around a trailer, and it moves all your camping accessories to a little trailer. They can just leave packed, ready to go. So when you want to go on a trip, you just hitch it up and go. But you got to make sure that it's, you know, high quality and has decent suspension that can handle a load. Yada yada yada. Got to keep it maintained. Whereas a camper, it's a little more luxury. You have an enclosed space, a little more protection from the animals. You know, you go from being a burrito for bears to a can of sardines to bears. But anyway, so it's something we're considering. They are a lot more expensive for those campers. I've seen them anywhere from $13,000 all the way up to $60,000. Our goal with the JL is to hit as many national parks as possible. We want to just put a lot of miles on the road, going places, exploring. We don't necessarily want the, you know, rock crawling trail to be in the destination. We want just go see and do fun, cool things, be outside, so I can get out of the office and the kids can be in the outdoors. So the funny thing about this JL is, even though it's a brand new vehicle and I'm making payments on it, I'm still spending less a month on this than my JK. That's nuts. Like my JK, you know, like 1 month I'd replace the steering box. And then the next month, oh, I have to replace a whole bunch of suspension components. Then the next month it'd be a bunch of like having the axle seals replaced, or, you know, just never ended. I'm so tired of just throwing money at the maintenance. It's like, can I just put my money into something that's actually going to last me again? Then I hit that point with my first Jeep, and where it's like, okay, I'm spending more money a month on maintenance than a car payment. And that's kind of my gauge of when I know it's time to switch vehicles. And I've learned a lot along the way. As I said, I've spent 13 years driving those two JKs. The biggest thing that kills a Jeep is weight. Got to keep these things light. You know, for what we want to do, got to keep it light. Don't overbuild it, don't overpack it. Then you'll overdo it and it'll break down. I mean, yeah, I can do it a couple times, but eventually it's going to wear a lot faster. So that's why the theme of this build is to change as little as possible, keep it as light as possible. Everything I do has weight in mind. Of course, when we were out in Colorado, we took a trail that was south of Breckenridge up to Crystal Lake, and there were a few bushes pretty close to the trail, and you can already see some pinstripes right there. Some nice scratches there. Another scratch there, right there. So, congratulations. Jeep's broken in. All right. My wife was cringing when she saw those happening. She's like, oh my God, Brandon, your brand new Jeep, do not do that. And I'm like, babe, that's what we got it for. You know, in that regard, you know, things like that are going to happen. I'm not going to completely baby it. I still want to go places and do things. That's the point of getting this, is we can go places that most people can't go to. Our plan is to tour the Southwest, hit more Utah, you know, Arizona, New Mexico, again, hitting national parks, going camping, not doing the Rocklander thing. It's all about the trip, the destination, having fun, being outside, and not just driving over rocks. Which is kind of funny to say, because that's how I got my start. Driving over rocks and going through mud holes and doing stupid things on the Jeep. And you know what? Yeah, I kind of miss that, because that stuff was fun. But I've matured from that. And I'm tired of wasting money fixing a Jeep on that stuff when, you know, I've got a mortgage on a house. I've got, you know, kids that need to start preparing or saving up for college. And of course, it's just saving for retirement. You know, it's got to be an adult now, and you can't really do that when you're irresponsible with a Jeep. And my last Jeep, you know, like the only reason why I lifted it is because Treadright asked if I wanted to try their tires, and they gave me a set of those 35-inch Claw 2s, and I couldn't handle it with stock suspension. So I needed to lift it to accommodate the tires, and that's kind of what started all my problems, was lifting it and then putting those tires on it. So that's why I have a lot of trepidation about getting this thing bigger. Now, That said, if I'm finding that the places I like to go still require some ground clearance, then yes, I will get bigger tires for this. If I did, I would want a 35, and I love the KO2, so I'd want a 35-inch KO2, which means I basically have to go to a 37 because those tires run so small. I want to get a 35, so I might do that if I want more ground clearance. But I'm not planning on doing a monster lift and massive tires on this thing at all. This is another thing I like about the JL. From the factory, you have these reinforced hinges, and then from the factory, if you need to if you decide you want to get a bigger tire on here, from the factory, you can get a Mopar reinforced tailgate hinge bracket. That's so cool. I'm getting a kick out of how the Jeep engineers are looking at the aftermarket, and they're saying, okay, what are things everyone's buying from the aftermarket, and how can we make it? And how can we make it not be a piece of junk? Not that the aftermarket's a piece of junk, but I'm just saying that when Jeep makes it, they're actually doing it how you need it. So it's not just, a beauty piece. It actually functions well. And so that's, so hats off to Jeep and the engineers. So thank you, really, guys, for building such an amazing vehicle. My family is so happy with this thing and what we can do with it out of the box without changing much. And that's my challenge to myself, is how far can I take this without changing things. This is something I'm trying out, trim serum by Lithium. These guys reached out to me asking if I want to try their plastic serum. So I figured I'd give it a shot. These plastic trim on these Jeeps, it's renowned for fading. So I figured, well, it's got a new vehicle, might as well try it. So I'm going to be protecting my Jeep with this lithium trim serum. So we'll see how this goes. Let's say you just pour it on and rub it in. And it's supposed to be a strong UV protectant, so keep it from fading. I don't know how much to apply. So we'll just keep going and see how well it does. It's the little things. Want to keep this Jeep looking good for a long time, so sure, I'll give in to a little product placement for the sake of raising awareness for a company that makes their stuff that's formulated and produced in the USA. Great. That's a good start. I like that. It says it restores to original color, formulated to outlast all others, shields against UV rays, soulmate of all rubbers and plastics. Directions: wash surface before applying. Pour serum onto a clean microfiber cloth. Oh, I did that backwards. Okay. Rub into the surface in a circular motion. Wipe dry. For surfaces that are really damaged, allow contents to remain for several minutes before wiping dry. Become an expert in plastic restoration. Our website, dubs.lithiumautocare.com. Tell me in the comments below, where should I take my family? That's one thing I want to hear from you guys, is where you think we should go, especially with the winter coming up. I'm considering going somewhere southwest, maybe even the Grand Canyon. I know during the day it's like 59, and at night it gets to like the mid 30s. So you may need to find some accommodations instead of doing the camping thing. But let me know if you know anywhere to go kind of in the southwest, because I'd like to take my family somewhere and do another trip. Another reason why I'm keeping this stock is inspiration for you guys, especially the newcomers. A lot of guys, they think that, oh, I can't go anywhere because my Jeep isn't huge. It's not on 37s and a big lift. I don't have a winch. I don't have these big aftermarket tires and all this stuff. It's like, you don't need all that to go places. Just get a Jeep and go. And that's what I'm doing. I got a Jeep and I'm going. I'm going to prove to you you can do some pretty awesome things and go just about anywhere you want in a stock Jeep. Granted, Accessories make it more enjoyable. So I'll give you that, like possibly a winch, you know, an air compressor or a fridge. That's one thing I missed on our last Colorado trip that we just did, is we brought the cooler thinking, oh, I would just pack small and quick. Well, sure enough, we succumbed to the old cooler water mixing with the deli meat situation, and it spoiled our food, so we had to get new deli meat. The other thing is with the fridge is you aren't wasting space on ice. You know, all of your internal cooling space is spent on food, not 50% ice, 50% food. And I'm not going to build the Jeep huge, and it might not be as interesting to see. You know, it's not this huge build. So that's why I'm focusing on the destinations, focusing on what you can do with what you have without needing to go so big. I should probably do these too. They're plastic. By the way, on the JL, these hood vents are non-functioning. They're purely for decoration. They look cool. They don't do a dang thing. You can cut out your hood if you want underneath, so you will get actual airflow under these things. But something to keep in mind is underneath this side is all of your electronics, and on the other side is your brake booster. So you don't necessarily want all of that water when it rains getting in on top of those components. So be aware of that before you decide to chop up your hood. I think the Jeep engineers, when they designed this thing, they knew what they were doing. This thing would have plenty of airflow from the factory, so I don't think you really need to chop open the hood for extra airflow. Something else I read is, why doesn't this thing come with a Hemi? You know, or why doesn't the Gladiator have the Hemi? Well, the problem with the Hemi is, yes, it'll fit, but you get rid of the crumple zone if you're in an accident. With the 3.6, there's a crumple zone built into the front, and so you're at least able, so that helps in a car accident. If you're in an accident with a Hemi, that engine is getting pushed back because there's no crumple zone. So how many of you guys have traded in your JK for a JL, and what do you think of the JL? Anything you don't like about it? You know, what are your guys' experiences? I know from the start these had some issues with handling on the highway, like you kind of wobble or want to wander, or there's some weld issues. What's been your experience with the JL? And what have you done to yours? You know, do you think I'm full of crap for not wanting to build it big, keeping it small? I think that'll be something different on YouTube these days, because everyone's all about, look at my stuff, look at my stickers, look at my build. I'm like, look at my adventure. I don't care about the build. This is just a tool to get there. You know, yeah, it's neat, and that's something we all share in common, is our Jeeps and our love for adventure travel. But this is just a tool, and this channel, it's about the adventures. I don't want this to be like, hey, look at me and all my stuff I have. I want it to be, here's what I used to get to this awesome place that you can go to as well. That's what I want to do. I think I'm more interested in that. Okay, so about that much is what it took to do the Jeep. And not bad. Yeah, this bottle will last a pretty long time. Sweet. So as far as JK content goes, I have 2 trip videos left. They're both trips to Moab. I took my family out in the springtime. We hit Arches National Park and Canyonlands, and then hit Hell's Revenge. So I have a video about that. And then a month later, I went back to Moab with the Overland Essentials guys for Easter Jeep Safari and looked at the Gladiator concept vehicles. And then also hit trails, like one of them being the Gateway to Moab trail, which is pretty cool. A lot of camping and backcountry exploration on that video, or on that trip. So I'm working on those videos, and then after that, it's all JL content. Thanks for watching. See you on the trail.